that, getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Welcome, race fans, to the start of another thrilling event of the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series. Round 4 is coming to you live on slow motion broadcasting. Today, we're live from Gard, France, at the Circuit de Ledenon, a 13-turn, 1.95-mile roller coaster of a course. This facility has been host to many different championships, and particularly many French national championships, ranging from sports cars, open-wheelers, and motorcycles. Notably, the French Formula 4 championships are still hosted here to this day. Opening in 1973, Circuit de Ledenon has a massive history of racing. The circuit was built inside of a natural bowl of terrain, and it creates some highly unique elevation changes. The fast corners, blind apexes, and interesting combination of uphill and downhill sectors will fully extract the ability of today's drivers as well as race machines. I'm Kennan Miller on the call. Alongside me is Maunz, and these beautiful images are being produced by Joshua Wilkie. Last week turned into a wacky and wet frenzy at Maunz, Ron. The weather looks to be much better for this race at Ledenon. So Ron, glad to have you back in the studio. Happy holiday, happy new year to you. What are you expecting through today's 20-minute event?
Yo, firstly, Happy New Year to all of you tuning into this broadcast, and happy birthday to you. Not happy birthday, Happy New Year to you, Kennan, as well as Happy New Year to Mr. Joshua Wilkie in the production truck. But no, really looking forward to this. Last time out at Monza, I'm going to say this, and this is honest, being on production and commentary for that broadcast 1 week ago, I don't think I could have more of a stressful job tonight if I did this broadcast from the lip of an active volcano. That was so tricky of a race to try and keep tabs with 1 week ago. I'm looking forward to this race. This is going to be a heck of a lot of fun, Ledenon, an absolute stormer of a racetrack, and doing an onboard lap right now with Max Lotto as he has his way off through 1, 2, and 3. The triple gauche section here of this racetrack, and really tricky to keep it going in a straight line. I don't think we'll complete that lap, but that underscores the challenge of this place, doesn't it, Kennan?
Yes, it certainly does. We will see a lot of rear ends come from underneath of these drivers' cars. The tires will get extremely hot with the way they really have to go on. And here we'll jump onto, I believe, maybe David Hirsch as we're going up the hill. One of the few blind crests you actually get to manage here. This track is very, very difficult all around. And Max Lotto has actually at least put up a line on the board. So he is top in practice, still the top in qualifying right now with a 1:18.977, and all down the list, everybody looking pretty similar to where they ran in practice run. So it's going to be quite an interesting race. Ledenon being such a small track, it really allows for good tight racing. It's really wide corners, really wide exits as we're riding along with Isaac Ammon here going up the hill. This is the blind turn 10. A lot of the drivers have talked about it in the pre-race. They're not a fan of this corner. It's just one where if you don't make the right turn in, it just absolutely destroys the lap. And you see as he makes his run down through 12 and 13 to complete his lap. Another high-speed, heavy. You can just see just how hard, and the cameras really don't even just describe how steep that downhill is. Does a nice job not locking up the brakes. And we'll have to see what kind of time he pulls in right here. Maybe not the best time of 1:24.0, so certainly had a little bit of an issue there. But as we see on the top left, got Max Lotto at the top of the board, David Borden second, David Hirsch third, Traber Burns jumping himself into fifth there, Jacob Guyton as well in fourth. But Traber Burns just absolutely putting in a nice lap at a 1:27.18. It is worth noting that Traber Burns was a late entrant to getting into the racetrack here today, so we're unsure really of what practice times he was capable of running, and as he is our points leader, certainly one that we'll want to look out for. But right now, Traber Burns is sitting in sixth as Bob Eggert actually puts in a really fantastic lap. It's one thing worth noting as well, Ron, I did a little digging. Bob Eggert is the father of Chris Eggert, one of our drivers in the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 Series, and actually, the last time the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series was here, May 8th, 2024, the winner was Bob Eggert's son, Chris Eggert. So kind of have to see, he's looking pretty quick so far today. I think he's definitely getting maybe a little tips from Chris on how to try and pull off a win here.
Yeah, and Chris Eggert, one of the drivers who's come up the ranks in the Sim Racers Group world. He races in the Formula 3 Series that, of course, you can catch here on Slow Motion Broadcasting every single Wednesday. But nice to see him out there in the Pepsi machine. That's a cool-looking paint scheme, if I do say so myself. Although, if I am being honest, I am a little bit partial to red, white, and blue schemes. But let's see what he can do as he comes over the crest as it bats across the line. Currently qualified in fourth. Not a really competitive mid-sector, so I don't think this will be an improvement from him unless he pulled something major out of the bag. He did, but it's not enough to improve his position. Rather surprising to see this here, Kennan. Some pretty big gaps all throughout this field. You'll look at Max Lotto holding onto the pole at a 1:18.9, the only racer in this field to break below a 1:19. David Bourne's second fastest at a 1:19.5, over a half a second behind, and David Hirsch nearly about 3 full tenths of a second behind that. So some rather big gaps here, and I think the reason why that could be the case is because even though this track is part of base content now on iRacing, it doesn't get a lot of use. It doesn't get a lot of love, and this track is quite the handful to try and reel in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a track even I'm not very familiar with. I did have the opportunity to take the SMB test car out and run a few laps to get a feel for it, and this is quite a difficult track. It takes a lot of time to be able to get yourself really figured in. It took me almost all the way to the end of a field run to understand even running into the 120s, and I certainly was trying to just do a familiarization kind of game to it. So it's A very interesting track and certainly challenging, especially when you look at the exits. Here we're riding on with Traver Burns. You can just see the elevation change, making that run through turn 9 up to 10. He's going to have a opportunity at a hot lap coming up. You can see him doing a little wiggling of the tires, trying to keep them a little warm, but they'll warm up on their own at a track as tough as this. So it's definitely going to do everything to keep your hands full. I think one thing to mention, we do have the big splits in time. However, this track, it's so easy to gain and lose time per lap. I was noticing a lot of drivers, you can go out and run one lap, might be in a 119.8. The next lap, all it takes is slipping up a corner and you find yourself running a 120.8. So you will see a little bit of up and down and variety in the lap times. It's really just going to come down to who's the most consistent to find themselves atop today, I believe.
Yeah, if you can master this racetrack and set those consistent lap times and avoid the barriers or even avoid just sliding off the racetrack, you can come out of this race smelling like a bed of roses. Pulling some other broadcasts that we've done here on Slow Motion Broadcasting at this racetrack, thinking back, so I believe it was the last show that we did here. It was the Formula V Weekend Warriors racing here right towards the end of season 4 of 2025. Now, that race was held with very different race cars. These Formula 4s, in the grander scheme of F1, the road to Formula 1 and the junior Formula ladder, these are the slowest cars. They're the babies in the F1 road ladder. You look at a Formula V, though, and it makes these cars look like a Bugatti Chiron in comparison. They are insanely slow, really, the Formula Vs. But they produce a very different style of racing, but it still exemplified the challenge of this racetrack on the Weekend Warriors. Went here some weeks ago, ended up seeing the main standout star from that series, Tortolo, drive off into the sunset because he was able to keep it clean, keep it on the road. There was some rain in the fixture, so that did amplify it even more, but doesn't matter what kind of car you're running around here, Kennan, it is always going to be a big test of these drivers' skills and these drivers' nerves. Even though the race at Maunz last time out was an absolute whirlwind of emotions for everybody with strategy thrown into the midst, I still feel like this race isn't going to be too much of a break for these racers. They're still going to have to be running their brain cells to the absolute limit before they melt.
Oh, absolutely. These drivers are going to have a very intense 20-minute event. At a 2-mile course like this, we see just how twisty and turvy it is, and we can even maybe pull up the track map and give you an idea, although it really doesn't speak to just the way the elevation changes work. And now we see Rudy Samudio coming through that turn 1, 2, and 3. It's so difficult to keep the car from wanting to go wide. And it's also very difficult to get the car to come in and not lock up the brakes. It's a lot of downhill braking. It's you're right, these 1,257-pound cars, only 160 horsepower. So it's still not too much to really loop the cars as long as you keep the thing balanced. But the drivers will have an issue with that. Too much steering inputs, too much throttle, too much brake can all really affect these cars. They do have the wings a little better than a Formula V machine, but the wings in a Formula 4 car are very subtle. They do obviously help with aerodynamics, but nothing like you'd find in a higher series of Formula racing. And now we're riding on, we're to look at Ryan Chia, who's had a pretty good shot. He was maybe going to be a front runner coming into this race. He was feeling quite confident when we had a chance to speak with him earlier today, and just hasn't quite had the greatest time so far, still off by about 2 seconds off of Max Lotto's 118.976, which I believe is improved here in the last couple of minutes. So we'll see what can kind of happen. I think the topsy-turvy craziness that we see in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series, and there you see just how easy it is to run wide. That will definitely be an off-track and disqualify the time. We've got just under 2 minutes left in qualifying here, so think he can maybe I don't know, he just spun out the tires, but maybe has enough time to go back to pit lane, get a fresh set, and try one more hot lap, but chooses to think otherwise and stays on the track. So kind of interesting as we're seeing qualifying wind down here. Just 2 minutes left. We'll see if anybody can maybe make a shot at Max Lotto. Currently third in our points, and this will be a good chance. Let's pull up the points and look at it, because we did actually have a shift with David Borden, who actually our winner last week in the crazy race at Monza, was able to get ahead of Max Lotto, who had a 5th place finish. So Nice job by David Borden, and then you see the points. Traver Burns ahead by 4 right now. Actually had an absolutely fantastic double recovery drive last week to maintain the points lead over David Borden in second, Max Lotto in third, and then Greg Meyer, Jacob Guyton, David Hirsch all in quite a battle themselves, and certainly not out of the hunt with the 12-week season and 2 drop weeks. We will certainly see more and more how this full season comes to shape up. And then Bob Eggert in 7th, Ken Glasser 8th, Aaron Van Wagner 9th, Jose Navas in 10th, Sword Vase in 11th, Shane Chang in 12th, James McDonald in 13th, and Ryan Chia in 14th, Michael Wynn 15th, Jason Trantham 16th, Ken Estep in 17th, and Dan Clark in 18th with 5 points, which we haven't seen quite too much this season. And there you can see the rest of the field. So far, 28 competitors, and we've only completed 3 rounds in this series. The Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series is obviously a hot commodity and one that you should certainly be looking towards wanting to be a part of if you're looking for great community, high level of racing, and really just everything in between there. But starting to wrap up qualifying, nobody's really changed much positions at the moment. You can see all but 3 cars out of the top 10 all sitting on pit road. They're very satisfied with their time, but we did see a little bit of improvement, Ron, kind of coming through mid-pack 5th through 10th. Drivers getting into the 120s, and I think it kind of comes back to the point of consistency and how they'll perform during the race.
Yeah, I think one thing that we have noticed throughout the practice that we didn't get the opportunity to cover and here in qualifying, everybody really valuing just the matter of having seat time. You want to have experience, you want to have the time trying to get used to this racetrack, which can be really tricky. You know, this track is not the longest from this season. It's probably one of the shortest that we'll be visiting throughout this season at just a tick under 2 miles. But this track packs a punch. 13 turns in all means that you're always battling something, and with the insane elevation change around this racetrack too, Kennan, that means that all throughout this race, everybody's gonna be feeling rather nervous, rather overwhelmed. They're basically gonna be having a panic attack behind the wheel, if I'm being completely honest. And it's you know, sometimes that can bring out the best in racers, sometimes it can't. We'll just have to see who can withstand the pressure the best, get used to this racetrack the quickest. We'll just have to find out who's going to be able to take to this track like a duck to water. You're going to see some racers learn quite quickly, others are going to struggle. It's kind of like the old school trick of teaching a kid how to swim by just chucking him into the deep end of the pool. That's basically what this racetrack is. I mean, I have had lots of experience driving various different things, both in the sim and in real life in my own karting days, but this track still feels like one that will throw me off my A game at any point in time.
You're absolutely right. This is more than likely one of the most challenging overall driver tracks that the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series will even go to this season. It really takes everything out of you, and just the way the corners are so high speed and so little references that you can really make. It's not an easy track to find your grounds with. You really just kind of have to understand the track, know where your car is, and understand when to turn in. You have to really rely, I think, more on your muscle memory than other tracks where you may have a little better brake markers, a little better guidance for the drivers. So you're absolutely right. This is going to be an interesting test, and I think we'll really find out early on in the first couple of laps just who's able to push it and keep it under them and who can't. But so we see all the drivers. Looks like everybody came in. No real changes in the positionings there over the last couple minutes, but we will get a rundown for you of our starting grid as drivers are already starting to get their cars going. So there we see it. Max Lotto, quickest so far in practice, quickest in qualifying. Max Lotto with a 1:18.976. He will start on the pole. Alongside him, David Borden, last week's winner, looking to go for 2 in a row. Then we got in row 2, David Hirsch and Jacob Guyton. Row 3, Traver Burns and Bob Eggert with a fantastic qualifying run for what he did in practice as well. And Greg Meyer and Ryan Chia in row 4. Nathan Perkins and Dan Swanbeck in row 5, and Isaac Ammon and Shane Chang in row 6. And as we get to the second part of the leaderboard there, Isaac Ammon is in 11th and Shane Chang in 12th. I said that already in row 6. Then we got Brian Rice and Rudy Samudio in row 7. Ken Glasser and Ken Estep in row 8, and Simon Nathan and Rian Kundersma in row 9. But revs are up, lights are getting ready to go off, and there we go. We have tire smoke. Away we go. Max Lotto with a nice start. He's going to have a challenge on the outside. David Borden looks to make an initial move, and he does. David Borden goes to the lead early. Lotto is going to have to follow behind as they're headed into turn 2. Drivers side by side. Haven't seen any incidents so far yet. Everybody's staying all quiet. Beneath them, there's Bob Eggert in the non-car of Ryan Chia going at it side by side. Just almost a little contact, but I don't think so. And so far, halfway through the opening lap, David Borden has come out with the lead. So really nice start by David Borden. He somewhat gets an advantage having that inside run to turn 1, but Max Lotto not able to do anything there. We're off to a hot and quick start so fast here at Ledenon.
As they head their way down into the bowl, into turn number 8 and 9, I wonder how Max Lotto is going to tackle the start of this race, considering he's running in second, is going to have the dirty air, and that can most certainly affect you, even in these F4 cars with front wings that are basically a giant plank of wood. Feeling some pressure from David Hirsch, who keeps getting abducted by a UFO. He's still there, though, applying the pressure to the driver, the number 3. In the meantime, though, black flags coming out for Greg Meyer and Nathan Perkins. That must have been for some sort of start violation, but either way you slice it, that'll pretty much end those drivers' races before they even really started.
Yeah, that will certainly hurt. You see Greg Meyer's already made it to pit lane, and Nathan Perkins has now made it to pit lane as well. But we've still got quite a contest up at the front. David Borden still only ahead by 0.3 over Max Lotto, and David Hirsch still just a half a second behind Max Lotto. You can see the top 5 all running right there in a row. It's still looking to be quite an open race. I think maybe Ron a little bit that could be helping here in the start. You're right, Max Lotto, it's interesting to see how he's choosing to play. Maybe he's got a little more in the tank, wants to have the tires at the end of the race. It is a long 20 minutes, but you see a little lockup by Lotto there, and David Borden doesn't lock it up, but has a little wiggle for himself. So all interesting moves so far, and David Hirsch wants to have a piece of Lotto. David Hirsch having a little bit of stability issues there. You kind of see him blinking in and out, but so far still has really nice pace. And Traber Burns there, you can see he's behind him. He may be getting a little upset that he's having to hold behind him at the moment. We'll see if race control chooses to do anything, but you can see Max Lotto is working that left front tire very hard. That's the second or third time we've seen him lock it up so far. This is really opening up to be quite a race.
And Max Lotto not replying to the pressure too well. One thing that is probably spooking him a little bit more is the connection issues that David Hirsch is having. He's blinking in and out pretty badly. I think it is slowly tempered out, but it's still not ideal. If you're Max Lotto, seeing the car behind you, applying a bit of pressure and blinking in and out, you don't know where he is. You don't know where your car is in relationship to him as he spins out of 4.
There goes Max Lotto, goes around, starts to drop down the leaderboard. It looks like he just lost it all on his own on turn 3. That is one of the very dangerous trouble spots. You carry so much speed through the middle of the corner at 3, and you really have to get on the gas early or you don't make the corner very successful. And there we go. We'll look overhead. We see, looks like he's clean through the curves. Nothing too crazy. I think just a little too much, just that fine line of having it and not having it. And we're right on board. We can see above his head. Yeah. Just quite a bit of steering input there, it looks like. Just spins it right around, and that will certainly change up the races. David Borden now holding out a 7/10 lead over David Hirsch, who has still shown quite good speed. Jacob Guyton right behind him in 3rd, and Traber Burns still behind him as well in 4th. Jacob Guyton actually completed a pass over Traber Burns, and maybe is looking to have a little bit of pace as we've kind of settled into these opening few laps. We saw the lap times. It's only 1:20 around this place. So this is one of the more numerous lap events that we will have here for the season, and certainly plenty of opportunities to take advantage as we look at the corners.
Yeah, so keeping our eyes on all this battling. Max Lotto still holds on to a spot inside the top 5, but that really just underscores how broken up this field is at the moment. David Borden has had a massive weight lifted off of his shoulders, a 1.1, nearly 1.2 second gap with himself and David Hirsch, who's just blinked out big time. That's the biggest blink. He finally respawns as they head their way into turn number 6, but those are getting bad, and at some point, iRacing is going to say, hey, look, your connection issues are so bad, we're going to take you out of this race. So if that does happen to take place, keep an eye on the fight between Jacob Guyton and Traber Burns, because that would be for P2 and P3 if that were to go on for David Hirsch. And of course, in this series, as we have seen more often than not throughout the seasons, Kennan, that's always vital, as that's a dive from a newcomer that's not going to work.
Yeah, Greg Meyer comes together with Nathan Perkins, just a little too much there. Or, excuse me, that's Rien Kunzersma, I believe, actually their first race in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series today. And just a little bit of a lockup. It's one of those spots where when these Formula 4 cars lock up, there's just not a whole lot you can do about it but be a passenger at that point. And gets into Greg Meyer, unfortunately sets him back. Greg Meyer now in 14th, Rien in 15th. And neither of them were necessarily off to a great day. Rien did have a good start, is still up +3 positions from starting, I believe, in the last position on the grid. But that is something that you don't like to see, and just really unfortunate for the newcomer. But I know that things will work out. Sometimes mistakes do happen, and they'll probably talk about it after the race and move on. But all in all, we've got Traber Burns, David Hirsch all right together. Jacob Guyton looking right behind him. Traber did get back around. We'll see if Traber maybe can find the speed to have to do something with David Hirsch. He was right on his tail, and he is catching quite quickly, only half a second behind. But if he wants to have any shot at David Borden, already a quarter through the race and a 2.6 second gap, that's going to take some time to kind of make up at a track like this, I believe. Without David Borden having a mistake, and he has looked flawless so far. So there we say we're riding on with Jacob Guyton. You see Traber Burns, David Hirsch just in front of him, and even David Borden still close enough to be seen. So all the drivers right now just trying to find a little more pace, but Traber Burns, I think, actually put in quite a good little bit of work that last lap on David Hirsch. He may be able to do something and get by him here in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity to battle David Hirsch is starting to pop up, not only because that gap is starting to close up, but also it looks like the connection issues have been more or less settled. One driver that I do want to keep tabs on, though, as this race develops is the driver that we saw who started from the pole, dropped down to second, and then spun out of that spot, currently holding on to P5, and that is Max Lindlato. Now, throughout this season, Kennan, it must be said that Lindlato has shown some speed, some really good speed at that, but sometimes the inconsistent form has come back to bite him in a bad spot. He's currently holding on to P5 at the moment. Last time by was able to set his personal best lap of the race. It was a 1:19.8, which is only about 0.2 of a second slower than David Borden, holding on to the best lap of the race at the moment. He's really starting to come into his own. He's got some clean air at the moment, so look at Max Lindlato to maybe turn that 3-car trio in front of him into a 4-car squabble.
I think that's an absolutely good point. The winner at the Hungaroring in round 2, Max Lindlato, he has had quite an issue when we were in Monza, although he did have that penalty, which really set him back, even though he was probably the fastest car all weekend. And then at the Motorsport Arena, Oschersleben also had a slight issue and lost out to Traber Burns there. So certainly a front runner. He's not in too bad of a position, only, even if you look just a gap from the leader, about 5 seconds. It's not terrible to be looking at, but we are coming just past the 8-minute mark of this race. So time winds down very quickly in these Formula 4 races. If you lose a little bit, it's very hard to gain it all back. And considering the conditions are dry, drivers seem to be handling things pretty well. And we see Traber Burns looking again on David Hirsch. I think he's going to have to try and make a move eventually. I know maybe for racing for points, it's nice, but there's still enough time. I think Traber Burns has the speed run. If he can get around David Hirsch, he might have a run to David Borden. And there you see Traber going a little wide, using everything he can to get the speed out of the car, and even cuts the corner looking for a little bit. That is that blind corner of turn 10. And I think Traber Burns is trying to do everything he can to get by David Hirsch right now.
Yeah, trying to run every single play call, see what works. The thing is, with these Sim Racers Group F4 races here on SMB, I believe they're the shortest races that we have here on this channel, and it's consistently short as well. It's not like XSLR on Sunday nights where we occasionally run races that are like 10 minutes long at most. No, here it's 20 minutes long. It is always 20 minutes long, but a 20-minute long race can go by very, very quickly. That's a driver running slow there, trying to figure out who that is. I believe that may be the newcomer of Rene, yeah, that's Rene Cardozma there. So newcomer unfortunately running into difficulties in the number 33 car. But no, these 20-minute long races can go by in the blink of an eye. So when you find yourself feeling like you have the pace to contend for a good spot, you got to get those moves done early and convincingly so. You can't find yourself dragging your feet for too long trying to get a move done, trying to do it in the smoothest and coolest way possible. Sometimes you do have to lick the stamp and send it to a certain extent in these 20-minute long races if you want to make hay while the sun is shining.
You're absolutely right. And there we were seeing quite a battle. Dan Swanbeck being able to hold off Ryan Chia. And here we'll look again at the 5 car of, I don't know who the 5 car is. Oh, that's Nathan Perkins making a pass by Renee there. And I don't know, maybe just a little bit off. And, or is that Rudy Samudio just kind of went by him? But I think also passing the 33 of Renee there. But we'll get back to it on the go. There is Dan Swanbeck still holding off Ryan Chia. And as we're looking at it, they're running pretty consistent lap times. Been sitting in that spot a little bit for now. We'll have to see if Chia not a whole lot more to gain past Dan Swanbeck. You better to maybe size someone up for that kind of position. And there we see Traber Burns making a look on David Hirsch. He's trying to get there. And actually overall this group of 3, Ron, they have all been catching on David Borden. Its gap is down to 1.6 seconds. You can see that on the timing board there in the top left, just past 11 minutes. So we're into the second half of this event, and Traber Burns looking feverishly to get by David Hirsch. So far unable to do so. See if maybe he makes another stab at it going through 10 and 11. It's probably the best opportunity, but nevertheless, all 3 of them are making gains on David Borden. You can see just in front of him.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that, Kennan. You read my mind. That gap is going down between David Borden and the rest of the pack behind. And the gap as well is going down between Maxwell Lotto and that 3-car trio. We saw not too long ago was sitting around about 2.5 seconds. He has halved that since. It's 1.3 seconds, teetering a little bit higher. I think he had a bad exit heading on to the start-finish straightaway. But Maxwell Lotto closing up that gap to these 3 that are battling for the final 2 podium spots as they slowly but surely crawl their way back up to David Borden. Borden was able to rebound last time by after saying a 119.9. I'm starting to see some inconsistency creak in. You see a big lock up there heading his way through turn number 5, the downhill braking zone into that hairpin. Really tough to nail down in all sorts of race cars, these F4 cars being no exception. We're seeing some mistakes creak into David Borden that may come back to hurt him.
Yeah, I think David Borden there was actually on the brakes so hard because there was an incident right in front of him. Nevertheless, costly locking up the tires like that. And you can see it's getting down to still sitting at 1.5, but it's dropped as low as just 1.3 seconds. And you see these group of 3, they're all kind of trying to play nice right now, I believe, because they do know they are catching the leader. But you have to think they're slowing themselves down somewhat. I think if they were able to make a few little position changes, that whole group of 3 may get to David Borden a little quicker. But nevertheless, they're all playing nice so far, sitting in a line. We got a top 5, David Borden, David Hirsch, Traber Burns, Jacob Guyton, and Max Lotto clearing out the top 5. And Max Lotto is now down to just at 1 second. So gained another 2/10 that lap on the group of 3 in front of him. And I have a feeling he won't be afraid to make a pass on any of them if he gets up there to them after the kind of race he's had. He's done a really nice job of recovering and keeping himself in a good position. Top 5, 10 seconds well ahead of Bob Eggert. And just under, well, we're actually just coming up on 6 minutes to go here in race left. So looking at only 3, maybe 4, 4, maybe 5 laps left in this race as things are starting to wind down. But no position is really unsettled. David Borden has had a little more luck, gotten back up to a 1.8 second gap, a little bit cleaner, but that's where I think you're seeing those top 3 dealing with a little bit of lap traffic there of Samudio, I believe. And
I think that was Cy Nathan.
Just slowing them down. Yeah, I think that was actually Cy Nathan. And slow them down a little bit, but there goes Jacob Guyton making a move on Traber Burns. Jacob Guyton and Traber Burns side by side coming down the hill into the run. Traber Burns chooses to let him through and see what maybe he can put on David Hirsch as they come into the final corner of turn 13. So we're finally starting to see a little shakeup. You'd think at some point they can't follow the leader. They do have to make a move here, Ron.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows that the time is running out. We only have a handful of laps left to go. We're coming up to the final handful of minutes left in this race. And everybody knows that. That's the reason why they're starting to crank up the aggression, crank up the action. David Borden trying to run away as everybody else in tow, trying to battle with one another. Max Lotto runs over the edge a little bit. He picks up a slowdown. Unfortunate for him, after closing up that gap, it will continue to balloon out. It bottoms out to 7/10 of a second and will continue to grow as he tries to get this slowdown taken care of. Now, you got to be aware of that. I believe it was him last time at Monza. He couldn't serve that slowdown in time, and it ended up costing him dearly. Nope, he gets away with it rather scot-free. Slowdown has been served. No black flag issue to him. Max Lotto still holding on to that P5 spot, at least for now. I'm going to pass this back off to you, Kennan, with a question. I want to know, who do you think is going to be the one to battle first? Do you think it's going to be Guin and Hirsch duking it out? Do you think it's going to be another flare-up of Jacob Guin and Traber Burns battles? Or do you think Max Lotto's going to stick his nose into this?
At the rate Max Lotto is catching them, I don't know what we'll see there on him getting to Traber Burns. Traber Burns, he has kind of fallen off a little bit, but what I really look for is Jacob Guyton to make a move on David Hirsch. He has really moved with the force. He was able to get by Traber Burns the previous lap. Now he's looking right on the rear attenuator of David Hirsch and just all over him. I think Guyton is going to have to make a move this lap if he wants any chance of maybe running down David Borden in the final couple of laps. He's just locked up the right front just a little bit, but keeps all the speed to him. You see just how separated they are. Only a couple car lengths between them. Guyton going for a little bit of a wider line, trying to maximize the exit there. Maybe use a little bit as much of the track limits as you can right now. You do have a 20 incident limit in this race, but maybe you've got a little extra. Now would be the time to use them. This track is a little peculiar that you can sort of get an off track, but not always get a slowdown with it. So utilizing that to your advantage can sometimes prove helpful. And there you see Guyton lunging it in, just not able to do anything with it, Ron. They're all kind of setting up, and Traber Burns is right back into the mix again.
Yeah, and look at that gap between Borden and Hirsch. It briefly dipped below a second. We're starting to see these mistakes creep in. I think he had a bit of a lockup all through the final turn. Look at this. The top five all within a second of one another. The closest battle, though, is Guin and Traber Burns. He's closed up that gap. He is right on the tail. That number 64 car, he nearly goes for the move all through the opening series of left-handers to get this lap up and rolling. But now the battle is on for that top spot. I was going to break down the numbers and trying to figure out how much he had to close up the gap as here comes the move from Traber Burns. That's it to turn number 5. He holds onto the inside line, so close to making contact on exit. Who's going to win out in this fight? Wilkie Burns, Wilkie Guin, Burns sweeping around the outside through turn number 6. They go get hung out to dry on the outside on the dirty part of the racetrack. He still keeps it tight. He's going to be on the inside off it to turn number 8. I don't have a good feeling about this. They nearly make contact once again, and they're still side by side through 9. This battle is intense for the final podium spot, but lost in the midst of all this is David Borden and David Hirsch. Maybe gonna battle here soon. No, the gap is actually increased up towards the front as this battle is still hot for third.
Yeah, Guyton and Traber, they may have had slight wheel to wheel there as they're coming down the hill, rushing into 12 and 13. Guyton was able to get by there. Traber had to make a little bit of movement. There goes Lotto sneaking by underneath. So Lotto now up to 4th, and he is going to get a shot at Jacob Guyton before this is all said and done. Oh, man, what a great battle there. Traber Burns just put on an excellent show trying to get by Jacob Guyton, doing everything he could on the outside line, and just not quite able to get there. And, yeah, I do not believe we've seen a white flag yet, so we do have 2 more laps to go, it appears. And Jacob Guyton still doing everything he can to hold off Max Lotto as they're side-by-side going into turn 5. Lotto is not able to drive it in quite as deep there. Traber Burns obviously wants to get him back as well. But Lotto still able to make a peak. We'll hope they don't contact there and they don't. Guyton doing everything he can to defend that bottom step of the podium. David Hirsch is still making a run, only a half a second. We'll have to keep an eye on if he gets anywhere closer. But there you see off the rear of Lotto, we're looking at Traber Burns trying to do everything he can to maybe make a run. And then Jacob Guyton just doing everything he can to defend. Look at Lotto going so wide there, Ron. That is incredible to be able to keep on the car underneath you. That way you see the gravel thrown up driving all over. A heavy lockup by Lotto, but able to do a little bit there, a little wiggle on exit. Trevor Burns is gonna make another look, try and take fourth place away.
This may be checkered here.
Must be coming through, but
it will be.
All right, checkered flag is actually out, and there is David Borden still able to hold off David Hirsch. David Hirsch with a mad run at the end, just not able to quite get close enough. And there's Jacob Guyton, who will take the bottom step of the podium. Max Lotto able to hold off Trevor Burns for fourth. What an eventful race run. That was really, I think, beat any of our expectations from what we kind of witnessed in practice and qualifying. The drivers really found themselves in some tough battles there. You see, looking again at Trevor Burns and Jacob Guyton side by side, going right through. Oh, absolutely. They had such good racing going on. Trevor Burns just a phenomenal job to even stay outside there, nearly touching with keeping it all clean and just finding a way to get under there. But Jacob Guyton said he's not finished yet either. You can make a move on the outside, so can I. And that's really where it was made right there, this run up to turn 10, able to secure Jacob Guyton in third place finish onto the side. This is where we thought maybe we saw a little touch. We'll look on from Lotto in the replay, and yeah, maybe a little contact there. I don't know. What do you think about that, Ron? You think that was fair game?
You know, I gotta say, in these F4s, there's always going to be a little bit of argy-bargy action in the side-by-side battling. I kind of passed it off as a joke earlier, talking about the front and rear wings on these F4 cars essentially being planks of plywood. You don't get a lot of aero grip. Most of the grip that you have in these cars is mechanical. They slide around a lot. A lot of drivers, both in the sim and in real life, always call these cars go-karts essentially, and a lot of truth is said in just. So whenever you see that battling, it's going to get a little bit sideways, it's going to get a little bit squirrely. I don't blame anybody for any sort of maneuvers that they put on there. I just saw that as some pretty good racing. I remember my time doing some race control work for a pretty big multi-class sports car racing series, and my experience then taught me a very valuable lesson, and that is, even in broadcasts, say, you know what, that's not my job to issue out penalties. I will let the people who do that, and I will just keep my mouth shut. So I'll say, good racing, awesome action here at Ledenon. These SRG drivers always know how to bring the thunder.
You're absolutely right. That is just absolutely wild racing. We get it every single week here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, and it's just constantly thrilling. It's really quite a good shakeup, and yeah, just really well done. David Borden able to get his second victory of the season so far, 2 in a row after his win last week in Maunz. And I believe we're getting all the cars kind of finished through here now, and we'll have the results coming up for you. And there we see it. David Borden, your victor, really leading by 2 seconds the whole race until those final few minutes. David Hirsch made a mad dash into it for second, and just not quite enough time to get there, although he was coming. So David Borden, your winner. David Hirsch second. Jacob Guyton in third. Max Lotto, a fantastic drive after spinning out in the opening laps to come up fourth. Trevor Burns in fifth, also doing a fantastic job. Then we got Bob Eggert in sixth, Dan Swanbeck in seventh, Ryan Chia in eighth, Isaac Ammon in ninth, Nathan Perkins in 10th, Greg Meyer 11th, Brian Rice 12th, Shane Chang in 13th, Rudy Samudio 14th, Ken Glasser 15th, Stein Nathan 16th, Ken Estep in 17th, and Reen Kondersma in 18th. And that is our full finishing order there. All the drivers no more than just 1 lap down, which is pretty good for just a small track like this, only 2 miles, just under 2 miles. So really good racing all throughout the field there. And this Sim Racers Group Formula 4 live on Slow Motion Broadcasting, it only gets better and better every week, and without you, the viewers, we couldn't do this. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're thankful for every follower, every subscriber that we do get here, and please continue to look for us as we continue to broadcast this Formula 4 series all season long. And so we are starting to get, I think, some of the drivers out of the cars and into the cool down room. Let's see if maybe we've got anybody up there. And yeah, we do. There's Nathan Perkins, our 10th place finisher today. Started 9th, finished 10th. But we'll get to have a chat with Nathan Perkins, his second race out in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 series. Started 9th today, finished 10th. overall a pretty good day to say you got into the top 10. So Nathan, how are you kind of feeling after that really just intense race at Ledenon?
Oh, I feel great. So I had a little mishap in the grid. I jumped the start and got a run through the pit. So I had to kind of start my second lap all the way in the back. So over the next, 16 laps or so, it was just like a big fight to see how far I could get back up the grid. I'm really happy I was able to get 10th. I was kind of expecting to end up at the back and stay there. But it's just great to see, and probably going to get some championship points for it.
Yeah, it was a very nice recovery drive, actually. You're right on that opening lap. It was you and Greg Meyer as well, both with penalties and having to take the pit lane. So really a nice job, well done if you take all things considered in that way. And you're obviously a newcomer to the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series, and we just want to hear your story. What got you here? How'd you find Sim Racers Group Formula 4, and what's really gotten you into the series so far? Only 2 races in.
Yeah, I've always been really interested in racing, but never quite able to make the commitment to getting a nice rig and all the equipment that's involved. But I was at the mall with my girlfriend, and we saw at the Corsair store they had a racing setup, and I sat in it for a few minutes, did some time on the Nürburgring, and she was just she saw that how thrilled I was to be racing in that, and she pushed me and encouraged me to go get the equipment so I could have this at home. SRG was a good opportunity to go in and try it out on the weekends to see how I liked it. It turns out I really liked it, and I couldn't wait to get it at home. So just 2 races and I'm already having a ton of fun.
Yeah, it sure seems like it, and you can just hear it in your voice. That's a pretty good story. I guess once you kind of try it once, the bug just kind of bites you at that point. So we're welcome. It's always nice to have you, and just really well done job having a nice, good opening 2 starts here in the series. We look forward to having you throughout the rest of the season. And before we let you go, you want to give a shout out to anybody, thank a fan, maybe a girlfriend that lets you race home?
Yes, of course. The number one person I want to thank is my girlfriend. She's been really supportive. She paid for half of the equipment that I've gotten here. It's more than I could ask for. So I love you so much. Thank you for your support. Thank you to all the other SRG people. I did some coaching with Stephen Case. I hope I did him proud by making it up to 10th. So, and all the other people that have been really helpful.
No, absolutely. And Stephen Case, once in the Formula 4, you can find him still in the Formula 3 Sim Racers Group Series, and absolute fantastic mentor, and glad to see you're working with him, Nathan. We'll certainly see you climbing higher and higher on the leaderboard as the season goes on. I have absolutely no doubt. So best of luck, and thanks for talking with us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And that was Nathan Perkins, our 10th place finisher here today. And Ron, I think you're down there with Ken Glasser at the moment. Let's see how he's doing today.
Yeah, and Ken Glasser joining us here in the broadcast booth. Ken, welcome into the booth, man. It's at the end of this race, you'll walk away P15. I think, were you one of the racers that had a penalty right towards the start? Actually, no, we're seeing right now. Did you start this race in pit lane?
I started in pit lane. I was trying to make a last-minute adjustment, and I got caught out and missed the start, and it went downhill from there.
Well, I will say one thing about this racetrack. It's a tough cookie to crack, ain't it? Even though it's part of base content on iRacing, I can never get a handle of it. It's just so... This track really packs a punch, doesn't it?
It's a very technical track. It's like, and it's amazing watching these guys up front who are really smoking it and just doing a great job keeping it clean and battling each other. So, I had a good battle with Cy in the back. I saw Ken and Greg for a moment, but otherwise it was sort of I got stuck out in the middle of nowhere and was running my own race. I was just glad I didn't take out the leaders on that one spin I had. I was trying to stay out of the way as they came through, and I just lost the back end. So thankfully I was able to get it out of the way, but yeah, it was almost an unfortunate being in the wrong place at the wrong time moment. So, but Yeah, not the best race for me. We'll wipe it off and come back again next week.
And of course, next week here in the Sim Racers Group F4 series, we're going to be heading to another twisty and technical European track. That'll be Zolder for the next round of the championship. That track's always fun in my book and can put on some good racing. Have you driven around there before? And if so, what are your thoughts heading there?
You know what? I have driven it, but it's been such a long time, I don't actually remember. So hopefully I can get some practice in and come back and have a better weekend, or better week next week. But, shout out to you guys. Thanks to Jason and Tyler for getting the show together, and actually Edgar for giving me some pointers tonight. But as much help as it was, it didn't really show. So anyway, I'm going to lick my wounds and come back stronger. You guys, thank you, and appreciate it.
Well, we always love seeing you out there on the racetrack, Ken, and looking forward to seeing you out there once again at Zolder. Thank you for joining us in the booth, and we'll see you next time out.
Sounds good. Take care.
And that right there was Ken Glass, our P15 finisher. I'll pass it back off to you, Kennan, to have a chat with a man who had a pretty wild run in this race. Max Lotto walks away with a P4.
Yeah, Max Lotto, our pole sitter today, had a unfortunate little spin on lap 3 and recovered really nicely, making the last lap move on Trevor Burns to come up with 4th. So Max, I know quite an eventful day, probably not the finish you were even expecting and looking for here, but overall, how are you feeling? What are your emotions right now?
Oh man, it stung a little bit at the beginning. I mean, Borden got off the line crazy. I talked to him after a race and I was like, you gotta show me how to do that. But yeah, overall, it, spun, I think like lap 3 or something, and then, just was a recovery from there, and I think we recovered pretty well, so overall, happy with it.
Yeah, it was a nice drive getting into 4th and really just clawed your way up lap after lap into that group of 3 of David Hurst, Jacob Guyton, and Trevor Burns. They were really going at it, and I'm sure you loved watching them race up there as you were able to get back in and at least get past one of them, which is certainly helpful as we look into the points standings. But we're looking at next week. We're going to the Zolder circuit, and what are your expectations there? Familiarity with the track? Where are you setting the bar for yourself?
I haven't raced it before, so we'll have to get some practice laps in, but I think any lap or track is going to be better than what we all just witnessed on this one, so looking forward to it very much.
Yeah, the Circuit de Ledenon, not a driver's favorite for sure, but an absolute test of the drivers. It's a total handful between everything out there. And before we let you go and cool off and maybe go sit down and review getting the 4th place finish today, I'd like to give a shout out. Thanks to anybody.
Yeah, I'll thank my girlfriend for letting me stay up all the nights. We're on the East Coast, so it's 11 o'clock here, but just letting me do this and letting me enjoy this hobby, it really means a lot. And yeah.
No, yeah, you're right. I understand the 11 o'clock part as well, but it's a beautiful late night show, and you've been an absolute high level performer so far in your first season with the Sim Racers Group Formula 4, and well done. We look forward to getting to see you next week at Zolder.
I appreciate that. See y'all next week.
Thank you. And that is Max Lotto, our 4th place finisher today, and pole sitter. You could really kind of hear it in his voice, just a little down, knowing he maybe would have had a little better run with that one without that lap 3 incident. So what a wild event we have had here today at the Circuit de Ledenon. It's been quite an eventful one, but this isn't the only eventful stuff you can watch on slow motion broadcasting. Let's take a look at what we've got coming up in the next week. And tomorrow you can find same time, 10 p.m. Sim Racers Group Formula 3 series will be at the Daytona Road Course. So that'll be certainly an interesting one with the Formula 3 cars on the high banks of Daytona. And then we've got this weekend on Saturday at 2:30, the Weekend Warriors Formula V Series at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway Road Course, which is always a really good one. And I also heard through a little tip that the SRF Race Sports E-Series is back. 2:45 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. They will be racing from Phoenix. And then we've got obviously next week in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series, Ron and I will be back again as we will bring you live from the Zolder Grand Prix circuit. So that is quite a lineup we have going on here for the next week, and we're thankful for all you viewers, all you fans. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button. It'll keep you in tune with everything we're doing here in Slow Motion Broadcasting, as we've got racing almost nearly nightly now. So make sure to stay in tune with everything with that. So thanks again. Congratulations to our victor today at the Circuit de Ledenon, David Borden. I'm Kennan Miller. Side me was Ron Maunz today, in a beautiful production all night long from Joshua Wilkie. We really look forward to seeing you live from Belgium in the Zolder Grand Prix circuit next week. Good night.